I challenge you guys to try to make one of those baskets. It's really hard. Okay.
All right, we're at 5:59, so we're just waiting for a couple more minutes so I don't start early. But we are live. They can hear us online for anybody that's joined us. Do we have anybody online with us yet, Jacqueline?
Not yet.
Okay, perfect. So it's 6 o'clock. Thank you all for coming to what we're calling the disc golf public meeting for Catherine Creek Park. I'll share my screen here so that you can see what we've put together for today. And it's usually just delayed a second as it goes full screen. Okay, perfect. So my name is Sarah Garceau. I'm the Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Lake Stevens. This is Jacqueline. If you call the Parks and Recreation Department, she's going to be the one answering the phone and responding to any emails that goes to the parks at lakestevenswa.gov. We're really easy to find if you ever want to reach out to us. Yeah, just a couple things today. We're going to go through introduction, the full agenda, and then talk about the official survey at the end. To get started, I want to talk about the Parks and Recreation Department. I know that not everybody is aware that the Parks and Recreation Department was only created in August 2000. Ooh, that should say 22. That's my mistake. So we're just about a year and a half old at this time. Prior to there being an official Parks and Recreation Department, the way it was handled is there was a division of public works that was parks. They were your field workers. And then the admin staff was under community development and planning and helped do that. So we were separate but existed and created all the beautiful parks and worked with the public to get things done. And about a year and a half ago, the council decided that they wanted to create an official Parks and Recreation Department. So we brought the field and the admin staff together, added a couple more people, and we're now specializing with training and really focusing on parks and recreation. And my department's goal is always to work with the public and make sure that our parks and recreational needs meet what the public needs. So why call it public meeting? Sometimes that's scary. They have hidden agendas. There's stuff going on. I'm here to tell you I have no agenda other than prioritizing what the park needs and making sure that we give the public what it wants for recreation. So this is just a way to open a dialogue and open official surveys and rank that stuff and make sure that we are not doing something like replacing signage if we have safety needs like putting up netting to protect cars and making sure those are balanced correctly. So just from ground rules for today, this meeting is here for everybody in person. You're at the mill. For everybody online, that's where we're located. Anybody can join online via Zoom at any time, but mainly this entire thing is recorded and it'll be posted to the City of Lake Stevens YouTube channel. So if somebody didn't make it and is curious, or if you want to go back and remember what was said, you're welcome to go and watch it online. At the end of all of this, I want to make sure I've addressed everybody's concerns as I get feedback and open dialogue today. I'm going to turn it into an official survey. So we're collecting the information from everybody with the same benchmarks, the same ratings, and then we can compile it to say, hey, these are the priorities for the disc golf course. So in person, if you'd like to speak, we're going to have you come up here to the podium. If you'd like an accommodation, we can always bring a mic to you if you don't want to get up and go to the podium. But that's so that your voice can be picked up on the recording and it's available for anyone online or being watched back later. If you're going to speak, we just ask that you state your first name. You don't have to do your address or anything else at this point. If you're online and want to speak, just go ahead and raise your digital hand and then Jacqueline will be calling on you. I do have an agenda just to kind of move through topics that I know people do want to discuss and that we started with when we announced the meeting. I ask that you try to keep the discussion in the comments to that topic and we'll move through all of them and then there'll be open discussion at the end. I ask that you try to not only keep it on topic, but to keep it somewhat brief. I want to make sure everybody can speak that has an opportunity and that we're not still here at midnight because I'm sure you guys would also like to go do something after the meeting tonight. All right. As I advance through the slides, if it's going to cooperate, it always works in test mode. History. A lot of you may know how the disc golf course was created. I, of course, had to do my reading as I haven't lived here more than a year and a half myself. But it really was created, like a lot of disc golf courses are, because the public was passionate about it. We always have one or two specific members that will go to public meetings, talk to the Parks and Recreation Board, talk to City Council, and make it known what we want to develop or add to parks. And then through that communication, City Council went ahead and approved the plans in 1999. The baskets were donated and the course was installed mainly by volunteers, but is in partnership with the city and the school district. So the school district owns the property and the city parks manages it as we have a lease. It typically renews in 25-year terms. We are just now renewing our next 25 years. So we know it's there for a long while to come. The course has primarily been maintained by volunteers. We only have a total of 6 field staff out in the field, and one of those is a supervisor who spends his time half time in the office. So volunteers are vital for keeping a great disc golf course, as well as many of our other parks. Okay, moving into the agenda, the good stuff where I get to stop talking and you guys get to start talking. These are the topics that are on, and these are the order we'll be speaking about them. So we have baskets, I have tee pads, course maintenance, safety, volunteer days, and then open discussion for everything else. I ordered it like this because that seemed to be where the focus was in all the feedback for creating this meeting is what was most important. What I'll say about baskets as a topic is since I've been here, I've probably had about 6 or 7 raw emails come in where people said, hey, have you considered doing new baskets, or please don't ever touch them. We love our baskets. From our unofficial survey, when we were gathering data from here, there was a large majority that said keep the baskets, but that was not an official survey. So at the very, very end, I'll ask everybody to make sure that you come back to that official survey. Once it's released, I will email everybody that I have an email address for to make sure you know it's open. It'll be open for 14 days, so it won't be some weird short survey that comes and goes. You don't, but we do ask for your address so that we can gauge how many residents versus if somebody's in New York and had visited it once and just keeps an eye on it, because that's important to us. So looking at baskets, that's a thing I've heard a lot of passion about on either side. Should you keep the baskets? Should you change them? Some ideas that came up in the unofficial survey as we were just gathering dates to try to put this together was, should we change them out? Should we leave them? Should we add a new standard basket next to the old one? Can we expand the course and in the expansion do the new ones? Some people were concerned that you can't have sanctioned tournaments without specific types of baskets. At least that's a comment that came through. Some other things that were said was, how about you just focus on repairing the current ones? Maybe some new paint, adding some chains where they've been removed or broken over time. That was the collective stuff I've put together. So if anybody would like to talk about baskets, here's a live microphone. You're welcome to come up, state your name, and say whatever you'd like.
BA? Yes.
Right, you want to start?
I think.
I'll let you get started and then I'll figure out where you're going.
I'm Brian Anderson.
Hey, Brian.
I've been around the course since Dr. Fred put it in years ago. Yeah, there's a big thing is, do we want to keep these baskets that are very, very unique? Or do we want to go with the standard baskets? And I think, it's split on that. As far as repair and improvement of the ones, so far, we go out and we repaint them every 4 years or so, and we fix the chains as needed. They really do need new chains. And that'd be some money we would need to do, but we've also generated a lot of our own funds through tournaments, and whether if the city can't provide it, I'm sure the club could. I wouldn't like to see an additional 20 baskets out there. It would just be very cluttered. Few years ago, Dr. Fred and I talked to Jim Haugen when he was part of this, and he mentioned there's potentially another piece of property, and that's what I'd really like to see is this other property get a course in, and we could put the new baskets, standard baskets into that course. It was off of 131st Drive Northeast. At the time, he was waiting for the property to be sanctioned by the city, and he thought after that, then it'd be fun to look at it to see if we could potentially put a disc golf course in there also.
How close is that to your current property? I'm not too familiar with street names.
It would probably be 2 miles, 3 miles south.
Okay.
And then there's that other park across Machias, and I forget the name of that one. Lake Stevens Community? Yeah,
Just the county.
That's the
and I-
one with the ball fields currently?
yeah.
Okay.
And I think we've had a few people look at that and try to see if we could get a, course put in there, whether it's 9 or 18 holes. That's a beautiful piece of property also. Missing anything?
There's another park, south, on Machias Road, or a potential park. It's actually parkland right now, I understand correctly.
So for on,
Right now used by the, is a gravel yard.
So Fred, they can't hear you for the recording. If you want to come on up, or do you want me to repeat what you're saying?
Go ahead.
So Fred was talking about some other potential areas, and that's something we can definitely look at as we start looking at our park-wide strategic plan is the next one we're into right now. That really gauges where are we going in the next 5 years? What does the public want that we do not have or that we need to expand? So there are some other park options that me and Fred had spoke about briefly on the phone today. There's the Machias Park, which is really the gravel pit just south of where the Lake Stevens Community Center is currently. That's currently used as a Public Works County yard and is actually county parks land. And then connected to Cathedral Hill, or sorry, not Cathedral Hills. Our current park is what we call, oh, what's that other one? There is a piece of land, Centennial Woods is what it is named. It had a feasibility study done for a pump track, but the feasibilities turned out that we can't do a pump track there with the configuration of the land and the restrictions of the utility. And then where we would have to put it is right up against the property line, and then looking at parking, it's not going to be a feasible site. So there could be potential land in the future to add a second course.
I've looked at that.
Awesome.
Last thing I have is we've went out for bids to see if we needed, because currently there's 20 baskets on this course. So if we wanted to replace them, they're about $500 for the basket and the collars and the shipping and everything. So it'd be 10 grand to get new baskets.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum.
Thank you.
My name's Scott. I am actually the team captain for the Lake Stevens team disc golf team as well. I moved out here from Michigan about 10 years ago and visited Lake Stevens course about 12 days after I moved out here and fell in love with it from the time I stepped foot on it, partially due to the baskets. Obviously, it's a beautiful property too, but the baskets are super unique, obviously, and you aren't going to find these baskets anywhere else you go. And they've got a history associated with it too. And it's a really great design for a course like this, where you've got such short holes and such a small piece of land to work with. I feel like a lot of courses would benefit, smaller courses like this one would benefit from having something like this because of the additional challenge that it creates, even though you've got such a small fairway. But again, when you look at the design of these baskets and stuff and the way that they were created, and the fact that at one point they were approved through the PDGA, and we have actually had a sanctioned event at this course now as well. So it's not something that you can't have a sanctioned event at. And on top of that too, I myself have brought a gentleman out here named John Kirkland, who's the first person ever to be paid for throwing Frisbees. And he's been out here a couple times since and loved the design of it. I've also brought Scott Stokely, who's one of the original disc golf pros, who's been touring for decades now, out to the course. And he's actually recorded 2 videos that are posted on YouTube talking about the uniqueness of the baskets and how cool it is and how he wishes there was more courses like this out here. So this course, while it is just a local course, it is, I hate to call it a destination course because it's not by any stretch like a world-class tournament course or anything like that. But for a lot of people who are visiting this area, the baskets are what make this a destination course. When people see pictures of these baskets on Facebook and stuff, there's like, oh my God, what is that? When I'm in Washington, I want to play there. I want to visit that. So again, it's got a uniqueness and a character to it that you're not going to find anywhere else. And to get rid of that, just to throw in some standard baskets, which I don't think it's going to be doing the course any service. And all it's really going to do at the end of the day is make it into a pitch and putt course as well, which is again going to take away from the caliber of play that we get out there. So there's a lot of people that care about this course. And I myself, from the day I moved out here, I literally printed off discs with different logos on it and printed off shirts and things like that and raised funds and have raised probably close to $5,000, much of which we've spent doing improvements on the course by improving the baskets and by improving the tee pads and things like that. So I think that it would be a great disservice to get rid of them. So just wanted to share my 2 cents there. So
Thank you.
Well, obviously, for most people know that I was the guy who actually designed them. I have a long history going back. Actually, I played with Ed Hedrick, and he's the guy who invented the whole sport. He was an 70, 80-year-old guy when I first met him, and he couldn't throw disc very far. So I was actually, when I played with him, he says, oh, you want to be my guy that tells me how discs fly, because he was trying to learn all that. And so I had a history. He'd send me discs. I'd play with him. From there, I actually talked to him about the different options for baskets, but he had a whole garage full of, he was actually probably more of a small garage. It was more of a container shop that he was doing all of his work in, where all the whole thing started from. Anyways, interesting that way. As far as the course goes, yeah, I met with the mayor at the time, and we had a little Lake Stevens Downtown Association. We worked together to get the whole thing set up. Took several years. And it's just kind of blossomed from there. A lot of help to the Brian and the other people that have been involved with it. And it's been kind of interesting to watch how this all thing has been moved along. There is actually I talked to Sarah about it. There's actually I don't think anybody here else has seen it. There's a disc golf or agreement for how the course is supposed to be maintained, and I've been kind of making sure through interactions every once in a while with Brian that we kind of try to stay with whatever that's all about. It's and basically it's the disc golf club or whoever is now is doing it is basically in charge of doing all of the disc golf stuff, paying for it, blah, blah, blah. And the other one is that whenever anything gets there's been trees that have fallen down, and that's where we'd call the parks department up or call somebody at the mayor's office up, and they'd show up with a backhoe and cut things up and move trees that were leaning around, and they'd fix all that stuff. So that's kind of where a lot of the parks or the city and the volunteers out there, whenever something happened, we'd kind of interact and something would get done to keep it running, make it safe. I've also done quite a bit of research over the years to try to find another course location in the area, and Lake Stevens, they've all been mentioned here. Right across the street, there is a kind of a swampy land that you could put in maybe 9 holes. Yeah, depending on how far out you can go into some of the other areas. I don't know if the utility land's available there, but That there are some options there. There's the county park, which is where the existing park is. There's trees in there. Apparently that's, some of it's, a fair amount of it may be private. There may be some options there if we wanted to buy some probably overpriced property. There's the place down where the gravel pit is. This is where the police monitor Machias Road. That's where they park. You'll see flashing lights when you go by, slow down. But there's about a room for 9 holes in there. There's one other one. Is that the one that maybe it's the one you mentioned? It's a place where they have I think an old dump of some sort and they covered it up. There's a mound.
Oh, you are talking about the old county landfill.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know if that would be big enough. I've walked around it a couple times and scratched my head about, I don't know, that would be interesting, but it is, I don't know how far out it goes. It was kind of a toxic wasteland at one point.
It is. They are still removing leachate from that site and it is still under county park lands, although they don't manage it. Public health still manages it due to the leachate and monitoring of the site. Yes, but could be a low impact place in the future that you can do recreation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other one, Brian mentioned baskets. I actually have 22 baskets at the house that I'd be willing to donate. Half of them need chains, half of them are all ready to go. So if you had a 9-hole course, I actually think I have 9 to 12 baskets. And I actually have portable stands for them. So you could make them a full portable course too, if you just had something temporary. One of the other thoughts I had about the baskets, which at least whatever is done, I would like to be able to have the option in case the opportunity arises to say move the baskets temporarily off to a site like Kayak or someplace where they could put on a world-class tournament. And we could bring in the regular baskets that I have to keep this course going, or we could do something like that. That would be, and you know, the thing about sanctioning, that's just a rule in the disc golf PDGA rules that could easily be changed by scratching out a line, because the baskets are PDGA approved. What they did to make it so these particular baskets could not be used for a sanctioned event is all the baskets on a PDGA sanctioned tournament of a certain level have to be identical. And that's kind of a BS solution around making it so that there's no competition. Which is, you know, I can understand they want to all sell the same baskets. It's a lot cheaper to make them so they're all the same. But that's where we're at as far as that goes.
Well, thank you for your information and your generous offer if we have somewhere to install additional ones. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm here for you guys.
Talk that much. My name's Anthony. So I am one of the local event directors for Lake Stevens and Snohomish County. So just to kind of go off of what Scott said. So first off, yes, the baskets are able to have a sanctioned tournament. I did one during COVID. It was allowed, it's still allowed. For you guys that might not know a whole lot about Professional Disc Golf Association. So there's different tiers of tournaments. These baskets are allowed for a C tier, which is one of the lowest tiers. B tiers, they would not be allowed for. However, many of the disc golfers in here that do play sanctioned tournaments also understand that B tiers are for higher caliber courses as it is. And even with standardized baskets, it's not a course you would want to hold one at. It would be a pitch and putt. It would be a very short, easier course. With that, Lake Stevens is not a destination course where people want to come from different states and come and play. However, it is a destination course within Washington. It's one when we run an event, we get people that come from hours away to come and play the event. I know that Tammy Dunn from the Snohomish County Sports Commission is here right now. I've worked with her on some of the events that we run, and there is an algorithm for how much economic impact a course has, or coming to an event has. So I know that she can speak to that as far as what that is. But with this course being the way that it is and with the baskets that it is having an economic impact here in Lake Stevens. So I don't want to beat a dead horse. I don't want to reiterate everything that all of these guys said, but I did want to say that part.
Appreciate it.
Can I add something?
You can.
Okay, so I'll be real quick on this one is, one of the things I did do back maybe 3 years into the course, maybe something like that, maybe 2003 or something, there was a mailbox. I don't know if it's still there. I put course, scorecards in there. And,
Oh, I saw that
in
in the notes.
I tracked how many people picked up the scorecards over like a month. And extrapolate that out, if it ended up with the potential of having about 10,000 rounds played a year, which is huge. Sounds crazy, but I showed up one January because it was drizzly rainy. Nobody would be out here to do a little repairs on the course, and the course was full. I couldn't.
There's
do-
people playing every time I go by.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
It was totally full. I was like, it was a miserable day in January. It was like what eventually ended up being the big freeze. It evolved from that, and it's, one thing Brian didn't mention is the big freeze is one of these events where they raise a lot of money for food bank and some other stuff, which is really nice. It's a lot of people outside of the whole thing here may not see that happen, but it's just kind of, it's a busy course. I'm always surprised when I go up and try to do any work on it that, I gotta stand aside while 3 groups of people go by. So, anyway.
Thank you. Does anybody want to say anything else on the topic of baskets?
They're awesome.
Hi, my name is Rick Hewitt. I would like to just give some props to Brian Anderson, who has spent many years taking care of this course along with many people here, putting many hours into this course and advocates of the baskets that are currently there. They're unique to this course. Many people, I would say 50% say, hey, I've played at all the other courses and I don't like them because they're not what I'm used to playing on. But they're unique to this course. So there might be someone here that's against that. This is a unique course and they're unique baskets. So I'm not here to say that I'm advocating one way or another. I'm just, there's been many hours spent on this course by the people that are here today to keep it in place. And there's a lot of people that love this course because the uniqueness of the baskets. And it's funny that we're coming together to talk about just baskets.
There are other topics today, but I understand that
saying
that's a passion.
It's funny that we're here to talk about just baskets, not the course. The course is amazing. The baskets are unique, and props to that guy right there.
No, you, BA.
You had raised your hand. Is there anyone online? Anyone online with a hand up? No hands up. If you are online and want to speak on the topic of baskets, please just raise your hand and Jacqueline will recognize you after our next in-person speaker. Thank you.
My name's Justin Best. I'm newish to disc golf, so I have different feelings on the baskets. They're tougher, but I'll just say that. I totally get the cost and idea of replacing. I think it does make Lake Stevens unique. There's a lot of disc golf courses around. As a new person playing, it'd be great if they didn't have them, but I totally get it. And I'm not here to say to change it. One thing I just wanted to add that I've seen in other courses, and I'm sure you all have played other courses, have as well, is I have a hard time finding the next hole there. So some directional arrows I think would be really helpful. I don't think it would change much of the play, but if you've seen me out there, I'm often asking for directions for especially the back nine. So yeah, the GPS is not always working great.
Do you have a preference usually if arrow baskets are on top or hidden underneath?
Underneath, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so, especially with the, blue or white kind of pointing to the right spot. So that's that.
Awesome. Well, hopefully with our new GPS GIS system, we'll be able to digitalize the course soon to help out
Yes.
with that. You're welcome. Anybody online with their hand up at the moment? Anybody else before we go to another topic? Yes, ma'am. Come on forward. It's Kate.
Hi, I'm Kate. I run a women's disc golf league out of Snohomish County. But I would like to say that I learned how to play disc golf on this course about 7 years ago. I started our league about 4 years ago during COVID. And since then, I've had over 100 different women come through our course. And they continually come back. And I track that with all of my data that I have. And they just love the course because it is unique and those baskets can teach any level of play. So you don't have to, you can be a brand new player coming out. And I'd also like to say that I also have held sanctioned events there too. I've held a women's tournament there and I've also held sanctioned leagues there for women too. So it can be done, but like Anthony said, it is a C tier level thing. But I just wanted to say that like from a women's perspective, everyone loves the course, loves the baskets, loves the community, and we come out and help as much as we can. So
Thank you. So I was like going once, I didn't even get to say the one.
Hi, my name's Zach. I work for Snohomish County Surface Water, and we're in the same division as their parks department. So I work with their maintenance head of operations there all the time. So I kind of see what they need and what they do with other disc golf courses. Like he'll go out to like Kayak Park and Twin Rivers, and he'll kind of ask me like, what do they need? And I try to give my best input. Sometimes I'm wrong, but I try to do it from the goodness of my heart. But yeah, I learned disc golf here at Lake Stevens too. I got taken out by a friend at church one time, and I was terrible. I couldn't throw the disc more than like 10 feet. So I was awful. And then I really couldn't putt either. So like putting on these baskets were really tough. And then me and my friends used to play a game where if you hit the pole, like, oh, you just counted it. And so we're like, okay, we'll move on. If it was a real basket, it was good enough. But yeah, I learned differently and I got better, and I actually got better at putting, like learning on these, because it takes kind of like a regular basket, you get like the full window, but like at Lake Stevens, it's half or even a quarter of that same window. So I think honestly, it teaches you like a different skill and putting different ways too to get through those windows that Lake Stevens has. So it's very unique. I love it. It gave me a lot of love for the sport. Through COVID, I'd go there all the time. And I've sadly recently like got divorced and moved. And I actually rented like one of the smallest apartments of all time, but it's within walking distance of the course. And that's how much I love it. It's like I can walk, I'm like 5 minutes walking away from it. So yeah, I wouldn't change the baskets for the world or anything. Obviously, like we could fix the chains and repaint them and kind of do other modifications, but yeah, I wouldn't change them at all, honestly. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, before we switch topics, going once, anybody else on baskets? Going twice? Of course, you'll have a whole nother chance when the survey comes out to put stuff there. So the next one that is, I know it's just zooming in.
Can we talk about the chains and the paint?
So what I want to do is make sure that we have time to get through all of the topics today.
Okay.
I'm not making any decisions today. That's not my goal. I want to make sure that we've covered all of the topics that are important and that we have a wide range of comments and information so we can funnel everything into a survey. So then what the survey is going to do is, hey, do you think that chains need to be replaced? Yes or no? Do you think these need to be repainted? Yes or no? And then it'll have you a chance to rank them. So, hey, if I was to look at chains, paints, new baskets, replacing tees, doing wood chip on a trail, what's the priority you'd want to see those completed in? And that way we're not working on your lowest priorities. If all of the public's saying, hey, chains are top tier, then my department gets to look at things like, hey, do we have budget for it? Can we do some fundraisers to help raise money if we don't have it in our operating budget? What do we replace the chains with? And have those deep dive conversations. Does that sound fair?
We can talk about it.
All right. Awesome. So T-pads were the next ones that came up. A couple people had pointed out some safety issues with the current T-pads, marking some of the pavers have shifted over time. I know I saw at least one of them that doesn't have the wood border around it. And then almost everyone, when I walk the course last year as well as this year, the dirt is just starting to erode away from where the concrete pad was poured. And so that can create some uneven surface, especially if you step off a little bit unexpected. So were just some things I noticed and were marked within the unofficial survey. Somebody just put upgrade the T-pads, but never really elaborated on what that might look like. And so I wanted to talk to you about that topic. Do you guys have specific items that you would like to see done with T-pads?
So just because I happen to not so much know all about T-pads, but the proper way to probably do those T-pads is to make them so that they're going to drain, water's going to get underneath them, and they're going to go through this freeze thaw cycle, and they're going to wash away around the edges and lift up a little bit and kind of ended up cattywampus at times. The problem probably is that the T-pads need to have a French drain around them, which is basically dig a ditch underneath them. So all the water goes down into this drain and it goes out and away from the baskets. It's just kind of a common thing you do for any construction, even though this is probably overkill from the initial thing. When you look at a T-pad, you see there's dangers involved in having them not be flat with the ground and stuff. And the reason that happens is because they probably were put in with the best of intentions, but not with the long-term things that happen. So I'm just saying that there's solutions to them, but.
Sure. One of the things, Tom Pierce Disc Golf Course, if anybody's been in Grants Pass area, Oregon, Southern Oregon, that we did with the rectangular T-pads is they started to pour the half moon shapes on top. And what that did was still create your boundary line that you couldn't go over, but would create that extra area for you to take that extra step if you accidentally did. So it was a safety thing they started putting in at those.
Here you go. So Scott again. So I think I'm not an expert on T-pad, so I don't really have a suggestion as far as which way to go. I know there's a lot of different T-pads that work and they're terrific. And again, there's a lot of different options we could do. To speak to the ones that are there right now, they're definitely imperfect. And a lot of that is due to the allowances we've been given by the city up to this point. I know for a long time, we weren't allowed to actually pour solid concrete pads because it had to be removable. At least that's the way it was explained to me at the time. And again, like I said, I've raised probably $5,000 that has been spent, a vast majority of it on putting in T-pads in this course. And it's kind of been, again, it's who's volunteering today or who's volunteering tomorrow and what materials do you have and what can we do to get something that's not just dirt and roots here. So so a lot of it has just been local guys creating pavers at home out of concrete, or that I know that's how 19's pad was. Our buddy Chase did that. Our friend Lou did the T-pad on hole 7. So again, it's just kind of who's got the materials. Dale did hole 4 white. So again, it just kind of depends on who had the money, who had the materials, and who had an idea on what T-pad needed the most work next and how we were going to put it in. So they could definitely be improved. Absolutely. 100%. Please do. We probably still have some money sitting in the fund. Mike took off, but we still have some money sitting in that fund somewhere. and we'd be happy to donate it toward that cause as well, because that's, again, initially what we put that together for. But again, it's, yeah, they could use improvement. I just wanted to give some insight as to why they are what they are.
Yeah, thank you for that. And I'll look into the impervious requirement with them being removable and just to explore that so that we know. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, and it is a very natural area, so I can understand the request on that. Yeah. All right, anything else on this topic? I know, that's okay. Can all walk out and then I'll just create the survey with the data I have. That's okay too. Course maintenance, some of the things I saw is our staff needs to make sure we're removing graffiti as soon as possible. One thing is the whole city, Public Works and Parks is now over on what we call ViewWorks, and there is something called Citizen Requests. Citizen View. Citizen View is the correct word. It's an app that you can download on your phone, and you can also get to it online. But it's a really quick way for you to take a photo of something, tell us where it's at, and enter a service request so we can actually go find it and fix it faster. So if you see any of that, you can always feel free to report it. Repairing or removing broken items. I'm doing my annual walkthroughs. So we walk every inch of every park and we just make a big list and then prioritize it and take care of as much as we can. So we've recorded where there's like plexiglass that's broken, or things that we noted that need repair. If a bench moved when you went to sit on it, things like that. One thing that came up in this survey about course maintenance is making sure that, especially in winter, the course gets muddy and looking at adding the wood chips to the pathways. We can get wood chips, especially from tree companies, have them dump off whole buckets of it. But it does take volunteer work to help spread, but it's something we can do as often as it's requested or needed. You guys.
We've got a lot of wood chips spread out there. Yeah. You'll get volunteers, but any help.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, I can certainly look at that. I know. Okay. Okay.
They've never had garbage cans on, of course. They used to have them out by, like by the basket on the whole. Yeah, it was out by the street. The part of it was because the people that collect the trash for the city didn't want to like it in the woods and empty things, so it had to be like on the street for the park. There used to be one like, for the basket on the. Like 20. Yeah. But that they can still access it from the park. Like I said, I pick up a lot of trash on the course every day. And it's not easy to throw it away. I mean, you gotta walk off the course to do it.
Sure. What I'm realizing is the people online likely can't hear, so I'm just going to repeat a little bit of that. There was a request for adding trash cans through the course. Specifically, the request was for one to be placed at hole 10. It sounds like there definitely used to be a trash can at hole 19, but is no longer there. We'll double check that to see. One of the concerns is, of course, how often staff have to go in order to get it and how we remove heavy bags of trash, but it's certainly something we can look at to see where we can strategically place one. We do have one side by side, and so I could see that as an option for us to get into locations that might be off the road. I agree. Litter is something I pick up every time I walk. I can't walk by it. It'd be nice if everybody held it in their pockets, but it just falls out of your pockets. It falls out of bags. I appreciate you helping with the trash when you walk it. Yeah, but I'll certainly add that to the list and we can analyze it.
Keypad signs, be nice if they, like, there's a lot of holes with keypad signs and like, almost, like you can hit them, throw them. If they're in front of the keypad.
Okay, so location of T-pads, or sorry,
The signs.
location of signs by the T-pads. Yes, we won't move the T-pads. Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah, well, all have been moved at one time or another.
Location of signs.
And then there's like, we started off with what we now call white tees, and there's blue tees also. So there's like a whole 2 sets of tees, which I think we were actually the first course anywhere nearby around that actually did that. I could be wrong, but that's based on my impression. I came up with the concept there. What were we just talking about? The garbage cans, you know, somewhere in this agreement that we had with the cities, they were supposed to have 4 of them. It's like, but the one thing that's I'm not sure if Brian ran into this, but you can actually drive a small truck all over the course. It's and you could be probably maybe made it easier here and there. Well, how I found this out is one morning I went out to play, and over by the far southeast corner, there are some drunks stuck there with their van. And so I going, oh, this is crazy. And so we called the police department, and they showed up and drove down the park in their thing and dealt with the van and removing people. So it's not impossible for vehicles or even a smaller type vehicle utility thing to be able to move around and pick up trash cans and move them around. They may have something like that at the school. Who knows?
Sure,
But there
yeah.
are options there that, as opposed to having someone to have to come up and pick it up. If they were driving it around, it would take them 5 minutes.
Thank you. Did you have anything else to say? Do you want to come up to the mic? Or did we cover all of your topics? I'm sorry, you're in the black hat. What's your name?
The
Do
only thing I had was.
you want to come up to the mic for me?
The only thing I had was on T-Pad.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Perfect. Anybody else on course maintenance? Anything else you're seeing that you want to voice and get on a list somewhere? Yeah, come on up.
You know, I don't know if this is the right place for this, but just another thing I think would be helpful would be on the posts that are out there, the directional posts, is just little hooks on the side to hang a bag from. And then I do want to reiterate, I do think garbage cans out there, with at least a couple, would be helpful. And there was one more note. A lost disc box was the other thing I think would be useful to have.
And we were just talking about that before we started the meeting. I asked, hey, what do we do with lost discs?
Yeah.
So it sounds like currently the game store across the road has been a catch-all for lost discs.
Okay.
And that is one place that you can go. But we'll look at that and see, hey, should we add a box? Are they going to keep doing that? And if so, it'd be easy for us to just put up a poster so people know that's where they're
That's
located
what,
at.
is some signage or something
Yeah.
to let people know where to go, because we've been able to get them from other courses.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank
thank you. All right, course maintenance is ending unless anybody else, do we have anyone online with their hand raised? Come on up.
It's just a suggestion.
Is there anyone with their hand raised online,
Is-
Jacqueline?
Out at the Machias Road and 20th, I guess. There's a kiosk there that has like 5 or 6 little signs in it. It'd be neat to have a sign up there that says Lake Stevens Disc Golf Course. So people driving down the road, riding the bikes that by there would know, oh, there's a disc golf. What is disc golf?
Okay, yeah, I'll put wayfinding signs.
Out on the road.
Thank you. All right, awesome. Let's see. Next topic, safety. A couple things I noticed and also were posted on the unofficial survey is at the entries, especially we don't have anything that says flying discs. So perhaps making some of those to make people who are using it as a walking path or who are unfamiliar. I'm sure you've ran into tons of people that are not kind or happy when that disc comes at them, but they are in the disc golf area. And so it would help to warn people as they're entering. And then I had quite a few comments about seeing if we can put up some kind of netting to protect the cars in the parking lot. To clarify, is that just the school parking lot or are there other areas as well? School parking lot? Okay. Yeah.
Just make the chain link fence there.
Well, I'll have to look into all the codes and what are options, but I think we'll be able to come up with something that should work there. Does anybody else have any other safety topics that they're seeing that they'd like to come up to the mic and help get on our radar?
I'll talk to some things that I know about, but nobody mentions. We have a unique feature with this course is that it has a lot of dimensional, vertical things. So there's places where you do stuff on this course that makes it unique. Virtually every other course is we cross pathways. It's like their, whole number, 18 that goes out. Everybody stands up on the T for, I think it's 14, and they cross paths. That doesn't happen very often, but it's been safe if it's properly done. It's just kind of, we haven't, one thing I would say is that I don't hear a lot of people talking about getting injured by miscellaneous flying discs. I'm sure it happens, but it's.
So are you saying where it is crossing, perhaps like a warning sign there about the flying?
It
discs
hasn't
would
been
help?
necessary. I just don't,
Okay.
it's just because it's designed to be safe.
Okay. Thank you.
As the population grows, signs wouldn't be a bad idea, as we are seeing more casual walkers through the park and stuff in recent months, I'd say, than in the past.
Okay.
Hi, this is Brian.
Hi, Brian. Welcome.
Many years ago, we had a local that wasn't happy about the course being put in, and him and a buddy took a big log and they ripped out 18 of the 20 baskets, or 17 out of the 19 out there at the time. So if you
Sorry
go out
to hear
to the,
that.
yeah, so we got new poles, we reset all the baskets, but that's why you'll see little broken off pieces of pole sticking out of the ground. And I think
That are
this-
painted orange?
Yeah, city paints them orange because they're tripping hazards. Yeah, we tried to dig one of them out, and you would need some heavy machinery to get that block of concrete out of there.
Okay.
We did try to dig one up, and it was, but I think you could, I think you could take a portable Sawzall and cut those metal things off to the ground and they would be fine.
Agree. Yeah.
But they're kind of tripping hazards right now.
Yeah,
As-
thank you.
Yeah.
We noticed it on, well, we put it on our list last year during the walkthrough, and we noticed, of course, they were
And
still
17
there.
of
We
the
haven't
holes
got to
still
it, but
have it.
noted it.
Yeah.
But that's interesting because we were like, why are they here? So that helps. Thank you. Hi.
I would just like to say there's one picnic table that is in between fairways 1, 18 and 19. And so there'll be local park goers that just come to sit down and eat there. And then they have people who are upset because they don't want to hit them with a disc. And it's cemented into the ground. It's right. There's also a sign right there. And I don't know why there's a sign right there either. That's the only, I don't really see the other, I mean, there's another one that's more to the left of 18's fairway. But that can just get moved. But that one that's green, that's in the middle of all of those fairways, I think that's a huge safety thing for a lot of people.
And those are the two squarish ones, and it is an old walking trail sign, I believe.
Yeah, there's
Lot.
some weird,
Okay.
old, sign there. Yeah.
We marked that those two benches are slated for removal, and we weren't sure if we'd be replacing them, but I'll note that the position of them is bad. And then we were looking at the sign as well. The posts are starting to deteriorate, so likely we'll be relocating and digitalizing that sign. So that's perfect. Thank you. Any other safety topics? All right, volunteer days. I know some people already spoke on this, but general question, do you want to participate in volunteer days? What type of work would you be interested in? It sounds like a yes on spreading bark. Was there anything else specifically that you guys want to say about that?
I would say that rather than asking the parks asking for volunteers is to try to come up with a situation so the existing format where it goes through, like Brian or whoever may be in charge of it, continues leading the charge, developing the resources, collecting money, figuring out what needs to get done without having to necessarily go through the Parks Department to get it all done. I mean, they can, so you only have to talk to one person once in a while about here's what our plans are, here's what we're doing. I know Brian comes up and says, oh, we're gonna, we want to do this and we're gonna change this. I go, okay, that doesn't sound too bad. But that's the way we've operated in the past.
And who
This
is the
is-
contact now for that association? Is it Brian and Fred or Fred? Okay,
Yeah, I've been,
Much changed out there, it's more, we're gonna go out there and spread the chips this weekend. The truck. Service process.
This particular course, the team disc golf, it's all about participating in volunteer work and things like that. So Lake Stevens course, there's a North Disc Golf League that has a Lake Stevens team. There's another disc golf league that Brian's a part of that has a Lake Stevens team, even though the closest course is in Auburn. And we still have a Lake Stevens team full of volunteers that go down there. And the Arlington and Stanwood team are probably halfway comprised of Lake Stevens volunteers as well. So you've got a lot of volunteers here. If you ever had a project and you reached out to anyone in this row.
So-
It would be wonderful to spread the word.
Yeah.
I talked about Facebook.
yeah, and I am following that one myself, and then I know I sent you the flyer for this. Thank you so much.
so the one thing that you mentioned real briefly there, and it's kind of overlooked a lot of times, is that if you can move the baskets around or even just turn them around, and it changes the whole nature of the course. And that's what the volunteers have done in the past, and I'm glad to hear that at least occasionally gets done. Because you just do the lock and rearrange them. We used to do that a lot. And so there's plastic PVC pipes at the bottom that were attached to, they used to have numbers on them. But when hole 5 ends up on hole 6 or 17, it's like the numbers are all messed up or they fell off. But originally we also were intended to put arrows on those things that sit underneath to help direction on where you're supposed to go next.
Awesome. Thank
It
you.
was planned. I don't know if it was executed.
Anybody else on this topic? Anything else? Is there anything else that's important to you regarding this park or anything else you want our team to know at this time?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Tammy Dunn, I'm Snohomish County Sports Commission. Since Anthony kind of called me out in that, I do work with Anthony a lot. I've known about Calhoun Creek probably for the last 20 years. So I'm very familiar with the discourse, but I've learned a lot tonight. And just listening to everybody who's passionate, which is fantastic. And I will say, learning about the baskets, if they're unique, and that can be like their own thing with a destination to draw people. That's what it's about. You know, I know that the different tiers with the tournaments, you get different groups of individuals that come, but it also is based on the course and the size of it. But if you have something that is very unique and special to Lake Stevens, there's ways to draw on that and promote that and tell the history of it, to draw more people to learn about it and then recreate. So it's really about recreate and getting people out, because then they're going to still spend money economically, but it's not always about the tournaments. And it's for me, it's the diversity of it knowing that there's a women's league, anybody can play disc golf. So there are economic impacts that we do with the tournaments and can get that information, but each course is unique. And I would hate to see Lake Stevens lose that uniqueness that they've had over the years that these individuals have created. So yeah, it's kind of listening to the baskets and that, but just having that course so that people know about it. I think if there's no signage, we've got to have signage out there so that people know where to find it. So that's just my comment. So yeah, thanks to this community for with what you guys do with Lake Stevens. You make it special.
Thank you.
Comments?
One more quick thing is, today I was fussing around trying to come up with some of the history and this and that. I'm not sure it's still active. I have a website and it could be easily just ported if the city wanted to put a website up so that it was always there and you could do other things with it, but it would just say, here's the disc golf course, here's the pictures of all the targets, here's what they do, and here's the layout, here's where you can download a scorecard. That's pretty much already in this thing, but it's like, might be defunct because I think, I was part of the downtown Lake Stevens website and I think that went away, last year, so.
Okay.
Anyway, so if you want it, I can get you a website.
Yeah, if you want to send me the information, we recently built out kind of a separate Parks and Recreation page from the city. So we have full control over navigation of our own portion and can add to it and link. And so I'd like to see what you have. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, this is Brian. One question. The city's been fantastic over all these years about whenever we see a dead tree, we would, tag it, or put a ribbon around it, let the city know where it is, something dangerous. But lately, there's been maintenance on trees that are healthy, but they're in the way for maybe some disc golfers. They don't like being in there, so they're cutting some branches away just to make the hole easier. But the city wouldn't be doing that, would they?
Our city parks department will respond when somebody identifies a tree that they believe to be hazardous. It's usually homeowners and along their property line. And what we do at that point is send out our staff. And if we have concerns about the safety, we'll bring out a certified arborist to say that it's one that needs to go. If there is a tree that is likely to fall, but it is in a wooded area without high traffic, those are ones that can fall naturally. But we shouldn't have had any staff time, to my knowledge, to just go around and be randomly trimming different branches or falling trees if it wasn't done by a professional company. I can check on that, but to my knowledge, in the past year and a half, we have not been falling trees unless they are hazardous.
And some of these are just big branches on trees that are, some disc golfers might think might be in the way of making the hole easier, so.
Okay, yes.
The one thing about it's got a lot of dense trees, and so as the trees get older, they compete for resources and some of them.
Sure.
But I'm not talking about taking whole trees down. I'm just talking about people are clearing stuff that shouldn't be removed, so.
I said there should be signs that, please don't touch the trees.
Yeah, I do know we have had some trees removed on that property, but I want to say everyone was closer to homes or fence lines that were going to damage things when fallen. For the record, on any city property, this course or any park or any city right of way, you are, well, not right of way, sorry, that's misspeaking, but city property itself, it is illegal to even pick or modify vegetation, to cut branches, to cut trees without permits or working through our department. And so if you see any of that, please speak up and send it to our department sooner than later so that we can file a police report and get that looked into.
Okay, it's hard to catch them in action, but it happens.
It is hard. But if you see any trees being modified or vegetation or branches and you're not sure that it should have been done, you can always send it in so we can respond. Yep, it was our crew, or no, it wasn't us. We're going to file the report at this time.
So
just in case.
History, you probably, Brian knows all about this. before there was a skate park or a bike park, they were building them in the back of the disc golf course, and there was these huge mounds and all kinds of stuff going on, and they would show up overnight and.
Yeah, we definitely have rules where you can't modify anything within parks without permission. That would include the disc golf course. If you want to add baskets or tees, we just have to get permission through the city. It's not an impossible task. I try to be super easy to work with. My staff's very responsive. We just have to go through that process.
My last thing is the down logs that are, city may have cut up or the tree fell. What is the rule as far as moving those and or people taking the wood that has been chopped up?
This is a heavy discussion. So anything in the certified NGPA wetlands area, critical areas, we have to leave all of those lie as a natural. So that's why sometimes you see larger logs down and we're supposed to just leave it there in the woods and not take it. There's not currently a permit process for the public to remove wood. If it is in a location that we're not required to leave it lie, then we do remove it or chip it up.
Okay.
So
Permission to put a branch, a tree that's sitting around and just moves a little bit to make it into a bench. If we talk to you.
come and talk to us. There are some locations that we have to leave the logs as they lie once we put it down, and it's a regulatory thing with other agencies that is not the city. But I can certainly look further into that.
It's been happening for years.
I understand.
Wow.
Okay, one more. There's a large bog out there and it used to be full of trees and it made it a lot easier for the disc golfer if he threw in there to walk across these logs and get it.
Okay.
But some people have taken all of the logs out of the bog. So I guess we kind of want to see what we can do to stop that from happening.
Keep the ball.
And they're digging out holes in the thing too. And it's,
Drain it.
they're searching for discs.
Catching discs in these holes that they're digging and then
Yeah.
coming back later and waders.
So it's done a lot of damage to the bogs and the bogs aren't draining very well now.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
We'll look further at those.
Scott, again, all I wanted to do is just kind of reiterate again, I know Anthony said that it's not really a destination course for people outside of Washington, but I've been playing for 23 years and I moved here from Michigan 10 years ago. And I've got buddies that have been part of this sport longer than me when it comes to like running tournaments and doing some of the old filming stuff. And even a good buddy of mine, Joe Wanderer, talks about when I first told him about how I love the Lake Stevens course when I moved out here. He's just like, is Dr. Fred still around? And kind of going off about some of the conversations he used to have online about the baskets and about the design and stuff like that. So, I mean, this course has been known more broadly across the country for many years. I mean, he was talking about it over 20 years ago. So to that point, again, you take these baskets out, it's just another pitch and putt course. So you've got either just another local pitch and putt course, or you've got a course that again, for over 20 years has been known about by people all across the country. So just something to reiterate.
Thank you. The mic does move if we need to.
Probably, I'm Jeff. Speaking of the bog, there is a catch basin on the fairway of 14, which I think we all love the water hazard. But when it rains real hard, it plugs up and fills up, which makes it real close to basket on 13. It's always clogged.
Okay.
So I think some maintenance on that,
Yeah,
possibly
sure.
lowering the pipe a little bit, cleaning it.
Make it.
But
You call it catch basin.
no, culvert. It is a catch. Yeah, it's a catch basin. So the pipe comes in, the catch basin, the pipe goes out, and it never drains.
Okay.
So when it rains, it fills up.
It might drain down somewhere where it's supposed to connect to the lower pond.
It's supposed to come out on the other side of 14's fairway where the pipe is, and it's never.
It needs to be
Coming out.
evaluated for proper drainage, I think is what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
Sure, perfect. Thank you.
Well, the pipe's clogged.
If it's not.
The catch basin's clogged.
properly drained, and it needs to be- I'm
Okay.
not talking about guys, I'm not trying to cut the water.
Yeah, and
It needs to properly drain, because it's been clogged for a long time.
Okay, perfect. I know we noted the course with some of the inlets and outlets and how debris started to accumulate or where it doesn't look like the water's properly going into holes, but we didn't mark any that were fully clogged, so we'll look specifically for this. Thank you. Perfect. We'll get it sooner than later because we're still in the rainy season. All right.
Is there a time frame when you guys will decide on the baskets?
It really isn't something, so what we're doing, and I'll switch to this screen right here, is whenever I have a large amount of, and I call large, 6 to 8 inquiries that were unsolicited per year on a specific topic, I'm like, this is really passionate. Like, people care about this disc golf course. And it's also the matter of who isn't speaking up, right? And so you can't just have 6 public inquiries that say, hey, change the baskets and go, cool, we're changing them. That's not how it works. And so this is part of why we open the conversation on top of all the disc golf courses I've been involved with in my profession. They are very heavily supported by volunteer groups. So this was the first dialogue to be like, hey, Parks is here. We're friendly. We want to work with you too and hear what other concerns you have. And so with this, we're going to put out this official survey. I'm going to compile all this to make sure that the survey catches all the different comments and things that we want to prioritize and get asked. Once we put it out, it'll be open for 14 days. I anticipate that we will be putting it out next week. Everybody who we have email addresses for, so if you took the prior survey and gave us your email, we will be emailing you directly when it's public. We'll also be posting it on Facebook, having the Facebook page share it for disc golf. If we don't have your email, you can always leave it with us today to make sure you get direct notice. After that closes, it's really to look at it to be like, okay, people say, hey, absolutely don't change the basket, keep them. We're not going to talk about that one anymore. And it's that defense so that when other people say, hey, you should change the baskets, we go, nope, we already went through that process. Here's the results. Thank you for your input. This one's not moving. The other side of that is whenever we have a list of people that say, hey, we want to do XYZ to a course, to a park, build something new, fix something that we have to pair it with budget and money. And so it's not something that ever moves extremely quick, but it's something we can start working towards if we see grant opportunities, if we can start fundraising for it. And so after the survey closes, what I do is I make all information public. So we'll compile all the data. If anything was written out in sentences in the open-ended stuff, we'll compile it to create some numbers, like 8 people called out safety, for instance. And that way we can share it back to be like, hey, this is what the community said about this park. And the survey is good for a long while until we have to, open up new discussions in the future. Does that kind of help clarify? Okay.
I think there's a opinion that people like the baskets or they don't like the baskets.
Very
That's
much.
a whole different conversation, right? Because whether you like the baskets or not versus whether the course needs upkeep,
Absolutely.
maintenance, blah, blah, blah. The bog doesn't drain properly. That's a whole different conversation, right? But whether people like the baskets or not, that's a whole nother, I think that's a different conversation. I think everybody that plays the course likes the baskets. There's very few that don't. And maybe they have a small voice or maybe it sounds like they have a bigger voice. That's I surveys for. Exactly. Exactly. What do you think about the basket? Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And if the baskets stay, are they upgraded? Are they reconditioned? To draw new people here, whatever. Not again, part of the survey.
Yeah, and we'll break all of that down so that we can do one survey instead of me putting out one now and then again, and people lose interest in taking surveys eventually. But certainly just want to prioritize everything and make sure that our department's direction is the same as what you guys want. You're using the park.
Can I talk to that one?
All right.
On the upgrade, the baskets, Fred.
2 more minutes and then we're gonna
Okay, I understand.
button it all up.
So this
Okay.
is quick, is like, it's been mentioned that, maybe the paint or whatever needs to get redone on them. They're originally powder coated, which is usually a fairly durable, long lasting thing for as long as they've been around. They've actually done pretty well. I do have like I say, a whole set of other baskets. So if you wanted to take a group of them out, we could bring a group of the other kind of baskets in. They already exist. And then get the course done and upgraded or cleaned up, refurbished, probably a better term, without having to impact a whole lot of, turning the course off for a month or two. I don't know how long it would take. You probably sandblast them and get them powder coated. There's powder coating shops all over the place around here. In no time at all.
That's an awesome suggestion. Thank you. All right, so if we don't have your email address, we do have paper and pen up here if you want to leave your information behind so we can get a hold of you. Looks like we have one comment. That was you asking people to raise their hand. Perfect, thank you. I was like, as I missed somebody. That's it. Thanks for coming. If you have anything ever for the Parks Department, you can reach us at parks@lakestevenswa.gov. We just started a specific Parks and Recreation Facebook page. Jacqueline has cards.
I have business cards here
If you'd
with
like
the
'em.
information about Citizen View. If you guys want to grab one, you're welcome to it.
Thank you. I love parks and I love recreation. And so come to us with anything about parks. I'll have as many public meetings as we have to make sure we're in the right direction for the city. Thank you.